to Simply Fujica, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. My name is Fujica and I serve this community as a business mentor. I want to thank you for stopping by for another week here at Simply Fujica. If you are new to this channel, I want to thank you for stopping by for another week here at Simply Fujica. Today I have a real good video for you. Today we are talking about how do you retain your caregivers. Some of my content is formulated off of a lot of the consultation conversations that I have with people, and a lot of it is geared around some of our caregivers. Like, we spend a lot of time in, hiring and finding them first of all, but retaining them. And so I thought this is something that it would be a good conversation. Like, how do we retain them? I actually just concluded a webinar on the whole process of really staffing your home care agency. So once you put all of that energy into staffing it, well, how do you retain, especially those top-notch caregivers? So that's what we're going to spend the next few minutes together talking about, is how do you retain those caregivers? So if that's something that you're interested in, then stay tuned. The first tip that I have for you is you want to spend a lot of time in training and or orienting that caregiver. Now, you all know that I did do a couple of videos on how do you do a good orientation for your caregivers. I will make sure that those videos are included in the resources in the video description. But I want to say that retaining that caregiver starts from day one. So you want to make sure that you spend a good time investing into that caregiver from day one, and that's included in the orientation. So really making sure that that person feels comfortable doing their job, and a person feels comfortable when they are trained and they know what they're doing and they know what's expected of them. So I say this in those videos, but making sure that you're reiterating the job description, making sure that they understand clearly what your expectation of them, familiarizing them with their care plan, talking to them about their experiences. What does a good caregiver-employer relationship look like to them? What are your expectations? Going over your policies and procedures. And while I don't think you should go over a whole 65-page document with that person, go over those key points that you expect that person to know in order to be successful. By doing these things, you set that caregiver up for success. The second item that I have for you is make sure that you coach them up for success. Now, this is another video that I actually just did. I give you some pointers on how to successfully coach a person for success. But I bring this up because what you don't want to do, and this is something that I was actually guilty of earlier in my career, you don't want to have a person do something, you never talk to them about it, next thing you know they continue doing it, and then because you're not coaching them on it, they continue to do it, and then that anger builds up. And so by the time you finally address it, you're so angry that you explode. Listen, that's not a good interaction for yourself or the person on the receiving end of your anger. You want to make sure that you nip that behavior in the bud. So you want to make sure that you have some type of time set aside to have a conversation to make sure that you address the behavior or address the incident. Again, you want to make sure that you're addressing objective behavior and not subjective behavior. So remember, objective is typically something that is specific. Usually it's something that's measurable, right? So this is not your opinion. This is not hearsay, things of that nature, right? So you really want to be specific, and you really want to be able to make sure that it's timely, right? So you don't want to tell somebody something that happened 6 months ago, right? But you really want to, as soon as time allows, really discuss the incident or behavior that's occurring. The third is you want to make sure that you're bringing that caregiver into an environment or a culture that is satisfactory to them. So I know I can think off the top of my head of a culture that I worked with. It's actually the only in my career that I can think of that this happened. Well, I can think of two places actually. One place that I worked that from day one, I knew I stepped into the wrong environment. The culture was horrible. From the day that I stepped in, I knew I probably made a wrong decision accepting that position, And then I remember a job that from the interview, I knew the culture was not good. And so I knew that I did not accept the position knowing that I was not up to the culture that I was stepping into. So you really want to make sure that based on the people that you're hiring, based on the culture that you're molding and forming every day, that you're creating a culture that you're proud of, that people coming on board would be proud of. I remember earlier in my career, a company that I worked on, we were all so proud of the company that we worked for. At the end of my career with this particular company, I was in a position of hiring for them. And I remember as I hired for them, I felt proud of the accolades that that company had. I felt proud of onboarding people onto that company. I remember having my first home care agency. I felt proud to hire people to say, hey, here's what we stood for. Here are our values. And for those of you who have attended my licensing course, I love when you all are telling me about your values. Remember those values as you bring people onto your agencies. Share those values with your home care aides. Share those values with your caregivers. Make sure they understand why you chose those values. Why are they important for you? Why should it be important for them? These are the types of conversations you want to have with them as they go on to represent your agency. The fourth tip that I have for you is create an incentive program. Now remember guys, cash programs are nice to have. So, maybe if they bring on or if they refer a client, they get a cash incentive. Maybe if they have perfect attendance, they get a cash incentive. But remember, cash is not always the only incentive you can have. I remember a client I actually am working with a client who is wanting to have their caregivers grow along with her agency. So she is willing to pay a certain amount of tuition for any kind of caregiver courses that they are taking. That's wonderful. So as they kind of grow with her and they become senior caregivers or things of that nature, she's willing to invest in their tuition. That's wonderful. And for a person who's looking to grow, that would be music to their ears. I know earlier in my career, I was always looking to grow. I was always looking to promote. So see, these are things that people are looking for as they're looking to sign on with your agency. Is there room for opportunity? Is there room for advancement for me? You'll hear that a lot. And so for those of you who are still kind of creating those incentive programs, create those things with that in mind. You are going to have people who are always looking for those next steps. So do you have that? Because that's going to have a competitive person stay on with you if you have those types of programs at your agency. And the fifth tip, I've kind of already went there already, is that room for growth. I'm going to throw it back out to you. What did I miss? So what are some of the things that you use to retain your A-plus caregivers? I would love to hear about it in the comments section. So just a quick announcement. I have come up with the next date for my third installment of the licensing course. I'm so excited. So I will be running that class. This time it will be for 4 weeks with live instruction. So I'm so excited for that. So those 4 weeks will start on Saturday, January 13th, and it'll run through Saturday, February 3rd, so for 4 weeks. I have not started enrollment. As soon as I start enrollment, I will notify those on the waiting list first, and then I will go forward from there because I am limiting the participants this time. I want to make sure that I'm able to give 110% to those who are actually in the class. So that's why this time I'm going to go ahead and limit enrollment. So I'm so excited about that. Of course, that information will be in the video description below. That's all I have for you guys today. Stay blessed.